Well, hello friends, we are outside on a beautiful sunny day. Now this video is gonna go up in December, but I'm filming it here towards the end of November. And it is actually the latest I have ever done my outdoor Christmas containers. I have the decor up, but you know, I was gone for the week of Thanksgiving and I thought, why am I putting my greens out? I'm just gonna wait. Well, this was the year we got snow while I was gone and the temperatures plummeted and all my outdoor pots froze. So today we're going over how you can still put in greens in frozen containers. Today we are up to a balmy 43 degrees Fahrenheit and it's sunny, so things are melting, but containers don't melt as quickly because they're insulated sometimes and they're so frozen that it just takes quite a few days of warm weather. So we're gonna start with that. We're gonna talk about how I'm putting my container together, especially the one under the kitchen window, which is my largest and to me usually most attractive one. It's the one that has a big topiary tree in it. So I like to put greens all around the bottom. We're gonna talk about how I try to mix in low-cost greens with some higher end ones so you get a mix and don't spend too much, and then how to preserve them. And it's exciting because guess what? It's Christmas. I got the Kip helping me today. Hey Kip, say hi. And what we're doing is very unconventional. I have my teapot from inside with boiling water, and I did one batch of this already, and I'm just doing a second. You can see the steam coming off of it. What this is doing, it's thawing the soil just enough that I can do this. Now, you could also take a large drill bit on a, battery operated drill, and you can make holes for greens. But the thing is, this works pretty well. It's a smallish container. It is in the sun, which I think is helping too. And what I'm doing is just drenching it in boiling water and just opening up that soil so I can stick some things. Now, this will not thaw it all the way down, but that's okay. Now you have to be careful. If you're doing breakable containers, don't put boiling water in this. These are cast iron, and yes, they can crack, but honestly, it's withheld 100 years. I'm not too worried. I'm not putting so much boiling water that it should shock it too much. Just enough so I can now put some greens in. And now the big thing I have, and a tip I always think is important, have your containers full of soil. That gives something that will ground the greens, help them stick into something. The only issue is, like this, when it freezes, but you can see now I can get down in there, and I can get down a good 6 inches probably before it's still frozen, so that's perfect. Soil helps solidify and act as like a floral foam for all the greens. And then once they're in there, the best is if it does freeze, because then it glues them in place. So when it comes to greens, honestly, I utilize my local nursery. So you can probably find it at a lot of different places. Always check your local nurseries though, because it's so fun to see all the different types they get in. So I have, of course, some beautiful different cedars, Port Orford cedars. I have juniper with berries. I have some boxwood cuttings. I have spruce tops. I have some Fraser fir. It kind of though is so thick and beautiful. It looks like a noble almost. I love noble fir, and I didn't get any of that this year. And then what I do though, and this is how I start all my greens, you see the big arborvitae trees behind me? They're old, and I can go and trim on them. So I trim off, you don't even know where I did it because they're so big and old. I just trim off some of the outer tips of different areas, and this is what I start as the filler on all my containers because it's free, and it acts as a nice green base. That way it's just a lower cost way then to extend kind of the more beautiful greens on top of it and just accentuate them with all this low cost, free, underneath. It's so nice. So I'm going to start a wreath on this urn. We're just going to build it up from there. The sun is hitting just right today that you're going to be able to hear the snow off the roof melting, but you can see this is the last area I have. I have just kind of a wreath of this arborvitae all the way around, which is perfect because I'm just jamming it right into the soil. Now, it covers up the bottom run of this trellis. That's fine because some of the lights down in there I think just make it glow even more. So I'm able to stick these now in the soil because of that boiling water. And now this is my base where I know the cracks and all the area will be filled in with this nice green underneath. And this is when I can start adding my fun stuff. So usually what I do is I think of my overall shape. I could stick with round, but usually I have the two sides come out more like a waterfall. So I'll use Fraser fir for that. And or noble. Noble's a really good one too. It's really sturdy, beautiful green. I like to turn them upside down because then they fall outwards. A tree often will grow upright like this. So if you turn their branches upside down, they fall out like a waterfall, which I really like. So I'm gonna go get some. We're gonna stick them in. We're gonna see where we're at. So I just want to take you in and show you here. You can see there's a couple of them that I put upside down, like this one and over in here, because I wanted them to have that effect of showing the container to be a little bit wider. So as we stand back, you're able to see how it gives it a little bit more just size and height. So what we're doing right now is we're layering greens. We're just layering different types of greens. So I have different types and pieces of Fraser all around mixed with that arborvitae. And I'm gonna continue to layer that until I finish with the really fun, kind of more expensive items that I wanna put more just on the edges so you really see them. This is where now I start adding in a little bit more of the fun stuff. So I have some spruce here in the center just to kind of give it a center point. We're gonna finish with pine cones and things, but I wanna get all of just the greens in first because then I'm gonna tell you how I spray them just to make sure they're preserved for a little longer. So I'm gonna add in some juniper that has some really nice berries, and I want those berries to be shown and to be seen. So that's why I put these in towards, you know, one of the last ones because I want all these beautiful, just look at some of those beautiful berries on there. You wanna be able to enjoy those and see them. So I make sure to kind of put those towards the outer branches here so you can enjoy them kind of all season long and see those berries. Now, I also have just a little bit of some really fun extra special greens. So some variegated boxwood. It's just kind of fun to add in different colors and different things. Now, you can trim these up so they fit. I will always put in one or two, kind of see what my heights are. This is where, though, the sky is the limit for creativity on what you think you want it to look like. If you want to do a ring of beautiful holly or winterberry, things like that around, do it. Now, as I'm trimming them to fit, you sometimes get these scraggly pieces that you think look ugly. Don't throw these out. One, you could just cut them and use them in the house, but you can also just jam that cut piece inside underneath all the greens, and you never know it's in there. So you can hide it, and then you just see that variegated boxwood poking out. So don't ever throw out any of those excess pieces. And I do the same thing with any of the spruce I'm using too. So when I cut off some of the spruce, you can see I cut off the center point, and you're left with all these pieces. All these work, just cut them off and use all the greens still. There's no reason that you have to throw them out. So this is kind of where you get to have fun. I always think it's where you let your creativity go. You pick a nice day like this when it's sunny. Yesterday, like I said, it was 20 degrees. Today, it's 40 something. I'm actually kind of warm in the sun, bundled up like I am. So this is a perfect day to actually get out and be able to enjoy the process of putting these together. Now, what I'm doing is trying to, this is the variegated boxwood, I'm pushing it around in different spots just to kind of evenly place it. Since this is a center piece, a center point, this whole urn that you see from multiple sides, I try to make it somewhat completed and round. If it was up against a wall, up against a garage, then you can work from the back, start taller, and work to the front. It just kind of depends what you want your look to be and what you want to have fun with. And then these are even some red stemmed. I always think it's funny. Growing up, this was not a thing. We did not have places you could have even really picked greens. Every so often, we would have maybe cut a few and used them kind of in fun ways, but it was not normal to go be able to find all these beautiful cut greens. And now things like this are so readily available. And it's just such a fun way to enjoy the season in a way maybe we weren't used to. So I'm gonna finish filling in, then we're gonna spray them to preserve them. We're not done yet with this, but what we have is all the layered greens in there. And you can see, I just like to make it really full and overflowing with the various types. I mean, you can see the cedar over here. You can see the juniper right beside it. You can see those spruce pushing out from the middle. And all this will make more sense when we accentuate it with some magnolia and some pine cones. Now, I keep it very simple. Instead of trying to redo this every year, I just really like how it works. But as you can see, the sun is beside me. We are on the south side pretty much. This is in a corner that faces southeast, but that means when it gets warm, and even when it doesn't, the sun beats on this, and it could really make some of these greens want to go brown. So this is when I always use something, it's an anti-desiccant. So it's like it adds a little bit, you can find different brands of this, but what it does is it adds just a little layer of a wax coating It's a great natural product to use. You can do this to your fresh wreaths, to any fresh cut green. And what it does is it traps in the moisture that's within those greens. So if you want to just make sure they have a little bit of extended life, maybe wait longer to turn brown, which the best way to make sure it doesn't turn brown is just to have cold weather. But we can't promise we're going to do that. So you'll notice I'm only doing this to the greens. I don't want to use this on the fresh magnolia because it can actually discolor it and it doesn't look as nice. So before I finish it with any of the final pieces, any fresh berries like red berries, I'm making sure to spray it now before I do that so I can just put it on all the greens that I want to. I'm going to spray this on until it's dripping off and then we can keep going. The magnolia's in and you can see I like to just kind of place it around so it kind of just accentuates, and really honestly I love the brown kind of velvety backs of it. It's bronzy brown. It looks so beautiful. You know, I was just at my sister's for Thanksgiving in Virginia and they have massive, beautiful grandiflora magnolia out there and we can't grow these here in Iowa. And I said, oh my goodness, she doesn't have one in her yard. And I said, if you did, I would be taking some home because it's not cheap to buy, so I just use little bits of it. This is though when you can add in all your now extras just to enjoy. So down here I have what I use every year, and it's some large pine cones and some small, they're just stainless steel like gazing balls but miniature. Now pine cones, after a while they're going to disintegrate just because that's what they're going to do, but I will still stick a few in various places and use them for years, until they start going bad, which you can see this one's getting a little brittle, but we're just gonna put a few in there and we're just gonna accentuate. It's kind of like adding just those finishing, like final touches that are just gonna make it all pop. I placed in a lot of the pine cones and those shiny stainless steel orbs that I wanted to, which from video here you can't see, but in person you can actually see them really well. So when you get up to it, what I love is during the day, those little gazing balls all over, they just give it something extra special. It's like you put ornaments in it. Now you're probably wondering, what about wind? There's stuff down in the greens. I get lots of wind. This is on the south side, so it's slightly more protected in the winter since winds are mostly from the north and west. But it still can get wind and they don't go anywhere. Those pine cones just add just enough touch, and I will show you from the other direction here soon too. I'll try to sometimes show you, if not in this video, in stories, but when it's lit up at night, because it just glows, and that's what I really like. So what's nice is the trellis is beautiful at night. During the day it's kind of boring, but then the greens offer so much fun kind of beauty to the trellis that you don't notice it. So both day and night, this has something to offer. So I was going to put a few greens also, not many, but in the large cast iron. If you remember, I have this large cast iron water trough that next year I want to use as just like as a fountain. But what I did this year was put big gazing balls in it. There's some pine cones just sitting in it until I had some greens. But what I want to do, I have some light up kind of orbs in it. Those have little beautiful stargazer lights on them, little copper wired lights that just are beautiful at night. But I want to put some greens just kind of around the edges just to dress it up and kind of finish it off. So I have this one done. I just want to show you, it's very simple. Now there is no soil in this one, so I kept everything really long so it could go underneath all these wicker spheres and the gazing balls themselves. Now what I did do is I did the same principles. I pre-sprayed everything so I didn't have to put spray on the gazing balls because it would have showed that wax coating. So I have the arborvitae underneath. It's that, just for that economical wreath underneath everything. Then I have my Fraser. I have, of course, some spruce in here, some pine in here too. I have magnolia. I did have pine cones, and then I added in some more of these small little gazing balls just on top and around. You can see it just is this nice, during the day, it just has so much beauty. At night, these all glow and look really good. And I wanted to show you a better kind of visual of the other container I put together. So this container you can see is just a nice kind of more wreath-like effect all the way around. Now what I did forget I had some fantail willow that I wanted to add in. I like to add, so you can add curly willow, you can add anything that just has a little bit of whimsy to it, but I think something like this, like look, instantly, you have to do nothing to it. And again, this stuff can be pricey. Like if I could grow this, I would. And maybe I can, but I've never been able to get it going. But you can see, just adding in a few sprigs of it all the way kind of around, it adds this like extra element that I think makes it look really kind of put together, makes it look really thought out when guess what? It wasn't thought out at all. This is all just kind of happenstance. Every year when I come to do Christmas planters, I do somewhat the same thing, but they're always different because I just put them together on the spot and I don't really think through what I'm doing. But you can see, I really actually love what this does. It makes it feel like an arrangement that is special, that is kind of, I don't know, something that you don't see everywhere. And I think that's what I'm always looking for, is something that's possibly out of the blue, just to add in that element of kind of fun when you have guests over. But honestly, this is just as much for me because it's what I see out my kitchen window. So we did those principles here again. We have the low cost arborvitae all the way around so it fills in with green. Then we accentuated and layered in all the other greens with spruce, with different types of cedar, with juniper and berries, some variegated boxwood, some beautiful colors, and sprayed it all with that wonderful anti-desiccant to make sure that it stays green as long as possible. Then we added in our magnolia, then pine cones, these extra little bits, which could be Christmas ornaments, shatterproof, outdoor of course, whatever you have, and then finish with that fantail willow that really brought it all together. I hope that it maybe inspires you, excites you, but also as a reminder, you do not have to buy all the Christmas greens. You don't have to buy all the decorations. You don't have to go all out to have a good Christmas. Christmas is not about all the extra stuff. It's about enjoying it. It's about finding that love, finding that excitement, and finding that nostalgia that brings us all together. So get together with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, and enjoy it the way you enjoy it. For me, it's putting together some Christmas containers. So when I entertain and have people over, I know it's gonna feel festive. For you, it may be something different, but I hope this inspires you to maybe try something. Maybe you have a container by your door and you wanna put a few greens in it or do something new. I hope that's what this excites you to do, because that's what it's all about. Get excited, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy Christmas. You only get one a year.